I know. I love having you on here.
Awesome.
I made a PowerPoint too. I don't know if I'm going to need it, but
Okay. You're always good with what you do.
Looks.
Cool.
Brittany is so good at this. She's like that. I like see like
She's
like
a good
the tech
hostess, a
queen.
good host, a good interviewer.
Aw, thanks, guys. Hello, everyone. Happy Wellness Wednesday. We are super excited to have you here. If you're here with us live, drop us a hashtag live, say hello, give us a like, boost us in the algorithm. We are super excited. For those of you who don't know who I am one of the admins of this group. I am Brittany. I'm a holistic nutritionist and owner of Fresh and Fit Nutrition, here with my partner, Chris, holistic health coach and owner of Rock Your Health Coaching. And we are super excited to bring you our featured practitioner of the week, Miss Samantha Beckton. Hi, Samantha.
Awesome.
How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me. It's always so fantastic. I love being here.
Awesome. I love having you on too, because you are just a wealth of knowledge. And we know that so many people are struggling with chronic pain, and so many people have these issues with arthritis and things like that. So really excited to get into that with you.
Yeah.
First off, tell us, you have an amazing background that we were just talking about there in Costa Rica. Absolutely beautiful. But just tell us, it's been a while since we've had you on. So tell us a little bit about you and yourself and your business and who you help and kind of how you got here.
Okay. So hi, I'm Samantha and I own Not Now Therapeutics. And what I do is I specialize in helping people overcome and get relief from chronic pain. So I've been a massage therapist for 23 years. And then about 11 years ago, I went back to school for physical therapy because I really wanted to help people, right? Really wanted to know more. And it was also my own journey. Like I was in chronic pain. And so it was like, I'm learning for me, but for my clients also. And then I worked in physical therapy for about 11 years, hands-on with people from all walks of culture. I have seen like every orthopedic surgery pretty much known to a man. And yeah, and I just specialized in helping people get relief from chronic pain because it's so misunderstood, first of all. And I do believe, I believe this, but that oftentimes we're giving the wrong information first. And sometimes we think that, like we don't immediately go to how am I causing this? We don't go to like, what am I eating that could be inflammatory? What's not agreeing with me? Do I have a sedentary lifestyle? What could I be doing for myself to support my joints and my health of my body, as opposed to what I commonly see sometimes is more of a, I can't believe this happened to me. And then like, we're just given, we're given painkillers and things like that, anti-inflammatories to fix the symptoms, but rarely are we like in, whatever medical model we participate in, are we getting to like what the cause is. We just want the symptom to be gone. But I truly believe that getting to the root cause of what the symptom is helps it stay away for good instead of like perpetually chasing your tail. So I help people online now and I teach them about their bodies. And what I teach specifically is how to release the trigger points in your muscles that do absolutely have an effect on your joints. And just how to bring more balance and hydration to your tissues that cause the dysfunction that cause pain conditions to begin with. And then, in my program, not only do we look at that as a hands-on portion, but then we're going to do like some gentle exercises, because as we say, motion is lotion and movement is improvement. So we want to make sure that we're really getting some good movement in our day. And we look at accountability, and everybody knows me as the girl who doesn't want you to sit cross-legged, but that accountability for the things that we do repetitively that sort of cause our own problems, like we talked last time about necks. Like if I'm looking at my phone like this all day long, I can't wonder at the end of the day why my neck hurts. So really holding people accountable. And then the L portion of the heal from chronic pain is those lifestyle modifications. And Brittany and Chris, you're such a wealth of information for that. But like talking about, like what are we deficient in? How are our bodies going to work more optimally? What are we consuming that's causing all of this inflammation in the first place? Instead of just taking something to get rid of the inflammation that's there, there's a reason why it's there. So anywho, that's that's me in a nutshell, and that's what I teach people. And one of the things, like we were talking about arthritis today, one of the things that I see commonly, and this is, I've worked with a lot of older people than me, like 60s, 70s plus, and they'll come to me and they'll be like, well, I just have arthritis. And that's like, their excuse for not ever having to do anything about it, or like, it's just like, well, that's just how it is, and I'm just gonna be like this forever. And that's just like the wrong mindset to be in my opinion. You know what I mean? Is you don't just have arthritis, but you can do things for yourself to feel better. And I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding of what arthritis truly is. And the things that we like, I was Googling, arthritis and whatnot earlier. And it's funny because when you Google like osteoarthritis, it says the reasons for this are unknown. But then it also gives you what not to eat if you have osteoarthritis. And I was like, well, you certainly have some ideas, Google, about, what not to eat if you have arthritis. Don't you think that those might be in the causes that are unknown? So it's actually really funny, and not funny at the same time, because I think as a culture and as a society, we don't want to be responsible for it. We want it to be the thing that happened to us and not have to make those really responsible decisions at the grocery store. Like, do I want the apple or do I want the donut?
I love that. It's so true. All of these things that we experience, with our health, they have a direct correlation with what we're putting in our bodies and what we're doing to our bodies. And now every time I cross my legs, I catch myself. I'm like, oh, I can't do that, and that's something that I've done for years. And it's honestly kind of a hard habit to break. When we first got on, I did it. And I was like, oh crap, I'm on here with Samantha. I definitely can't cross my legs right now. Like,
even though she can't see them, she knows.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She can't even see my legs, and I already know better. But it's so important to focus on those root cause things. And, as nutritionists and health coaches, that's what we do too. What is causing this stuff for you? And, it's really important. And just these little habits and just these little tools that you teach that, I've gotten so many tips and tricks from you that help me. I catch myself on my phone. I'm like, nope, like do this, because I've had all these issues, with my physical body, my back, my neck, from years of cheerleading and, gymnastics and stuff like that. And now I see, I'm like, oh, I've been making all of these things worse on myself. What are some things, I better listen to Samantha about what she recommends, because I know that I don't want to grow old and be hunched over. And I saw that picture that you posted the other day of like how we're going to look if we don't change the way we are with our technology. And we're going to like revert back to these like cavemen looking, species if we're not careful.
It's true. And like our brains, like we don't use them so much anymore. Like as an example, like I don't remember phone numbers. I still remember my phone number from when I was a kid, but now it's just
totally.
in my phone. And I feel like, like my brain doesn't get the exercise that it, used to get or need. Like everything needs to function, to keep functioning. Our bodies, and y'all know this, but our bodies respond to the demands placed upon them. You know what I mean? The more knowledge you're putting in the brain, the more information you're feeding yourself, it changes you. Like as an example of that, like I'm in, Costa Rica, and I don't speak that great of Spanish. So I'm learning Spanish. So the more I do it every day, the more I can speak it. It's not like I'm suddenly gonna take a little Spanish pill and be like, oh, now I'm fluent in Spanish, you know. But it's just one of those things you have to practice. You have to build that muscle in the memory in your brain, which does and doesn't have anything to do with arthritis. But
Right. Yeah.
but
It's all
yeah,
connected though. It's all connected because it does, you know. We got a couple comments here. Rebecca says, I've seen that for so many years and was always the compassionate one, but trying to help people. That's why I work with animals, as they tend to be more open-minded.
Seriously.
I'm telling you what. So I used to work on horses. This is actually really
wow.
funny that she brought that up. I do body work for horses. And so when I lived in Florida and I was seeing horses and people would be like, wow, I bet working on horses is so much harder, right? Because this is huge animal. And I'm like, no, they're actually much easier.
They listen.
Right.
Well, and they're honest. They're honest. You know what I mean? Like I asked the horse a question and I mean that like, but like when you touch the horse, when it get to a point where it hurts, it blinks, it tells you, it like moves with whatever it is. And people hear, and I mean this nicely, but like I touch them and I'm like, does that hurt? Nope. Nope.
The
Or
ego gets in the way.
did you do your exercises? Oh yeah. Yep. Did those. You know, no, you didn't.
No, you
No, but I used to work in physical therapy. The younger people who would come in and be like, yep, did them. The older people would come in and be like, nope, sure didn't. I was waiting to come see you. Yeah, you know, but yeah, working with horses was like a lot, you know, they're easier for some reason.
That's awesome. She says equine and canine body worker.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yay.
Awesome. All right,
Yeah.
Samantha. Well, thank you so much for all of that. Let's dive in. Let's talk about arthritis. I know that so many people are suffering, or we know somebody who's suffering. I mean, who hasn't known somebody with arthritis who has issues with their joints, with their hips, with their
Right.
back, anything like that. So let's dive in. We're going to let you take it from here. Give us some tips and tricks, how we can either help ourselves or help our family members, our loved ones with dealing and managing with arthritis.
Yeah, for sure. So if you think about arthritis, then you think about it always happens in a joint, right? Like I don't ever like get arthritis in the middle of my leg, right? Or something like that. Like you're gonna hurt in the knee, you're gonna hurt in the shoulder, you're gonna hurt in the neck, the back, the hips. Why? Because they're fulcrums, right? And it's where all of these different muscles come together and have to put different pressures on the joint. So with rheumatoid arthritis, that's kind of a different animal. Rheumatoid arthritis is a autoimmune issue where the joint actually does get deformed and it's attacking itself, though I do believe that there is a systemic reason for that underneath of that with like, you know, diet, like we've already been talking about. And then osteoarthritis. And it's really funny because I told you I was on Google and it said that osteoarthritis is not from wear and tear, but it's degenerative over time. And those two sentences completely don't make any sense together. But it's totally wear and tear. And the way I like to think about this is if you took a bird feeder, right, and you put it all the way out on the end of the limb of a tree, and you put it there for an hour and then took it off, the tree limb is going to pop right back up. If you leave it there for a week, then it's going to come back up, but it's going to come back up a little slowly, right? It might be like, "Rrr." But then if you took that bird feeder and you left it on the limb of the tree for 25 years, the tree is just going to start growing that way. And it's the same with our postures and our habituated patterns. If I'm grew up, which I did, for 12 years in high school, looking at books like this and taking standardized tests and then reading at night and then looking at my phone, I'm going to hurt in the back of my neck. And because the fronts of those muscles, the muscles in the front of my neck are tight and the back ones are stretched out and weak, the way my bones articulate is not going to be the same. It's not going to be the way that they're supposed to articulate. You know, my bones are going to start changing, and people have seen this. They've gone to the chiropractor, and the chiropractor uses these huge words like the cervical curve of your neck is reversing. If you don't do this 6 weeks for blah, 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 you're never going to feel better. But that is true that when it starts to straighten out like that and you're moving, your bones start rubbing up against each other. And if you look at the pictures of arthritis, it's this white stuff in the joint, right? So what's happening is your bones are rubbing up against each other, and that is what is creating inflammation. It grinds down at the osteum of the bone, and that has a blood supply, whereas tendons do not have a blood supply. So that term tendinitis is a little bit of a misnomer, where it attaches at the bone and pulls to create the movement of the joint is what creates that inflammation. And as it rubs, then it's like, oh, well, we need something there. We need like something to like protect us from rubbing. So your body, in an attempt to be efficient, lays down more bone. And that's why you see that white stuff, or which is osteophytes, which is like little mini bone spurs from those bones rubbing up against each other over time. And then it just lays down more bone. Those little osteophytes start to limit your mobility. You can't, I mean, you might feel that that ratchety kind of thing. And that's how it gets started. And then over time, right? Because time is the secret ingredient, it just gets worse and worse and worse. I mean, the three of us sitting here could probably easily say that we have some ache or pain that we've had for 10 plus years that we just kind of ignore. Is that true?
Yeah, I'd say so. Absolutely. Definitely.
Sounds about right, right? But the more
Definitely.
you ignore it, it's not going away, but it's just kind of getting worse. And it's the same, like, it's kind of the same thing, like with people with any kind of health, like people that you see, like, oh, yeah, I've had, like with IBS or something like that. Yeah, it started out, it had diarrhea every now and again, and now I have it all, because it gradually over time,
Right.
it gets worse. Same with anything, it gradually over time gets worse. And the more time you invest in getting worse is the more time that it's going to take to get you better. Like, I can't wave my magic Samantha wand and fix the 25 years that went into that. So like, it's funny because I do get people who are like, oh, I just have arthritis and that's just the way it is. I'm like, well, then you should just go on home then. Like, that's not the way it has to be. And I personally have arthritis in my neck. And so when I used to be a high level aerial acrobat, horrible neck pain, daily headaches, because I was ultimately getting in a car crash over and over again every time I did those huge, beautiful drops from the ceiling. It's hard on your body. And so I'll use myself as an example. So I have bone spurs in my neck. I have arthritis in my neck. I have the neck with the reversing cervical curve, and you have to come every week for 6 weeks for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And, I was just like, it wasn't working for me. Going to the chiropractor was making my neck worse. Going to the doctor, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it was pointless, because like, I've never paid so much money to have a picture taken in all my life. Right. And the thing is about an x-ray or something like that, you need to understand this, is that it is a picture in the moment. And if you're a lady out there, how many selfies do you take before you like one? Probably a few. Like if I'm taking a selfie, I'm going to take 7, because in one, my eye might be halfway closed or my smile might be sideways. It is exactly the same with an x-ray. So as an example, if you sit down in a chiropractor, or whoever's taking the x-ray is like, sit up nice and straight. So you sit up nice and straight and they snap that picture. They're like, oh, look, you have no cervical curve, like this is why it hurts. Or they're like, just relax. So you relax. And they're like, oh, you have too much cervical curve. That's why your neck hurts. Or maybe you were sitting there and you had a thought. And they're like, see how your head is completely sideways? Like, you know what I mean? It's a picture in the moment. And the thing is that all of your joints in your body is designed to move and change. So the thing is about your picture is it can always change. When people tell me, oh, I have herniated discs, I'm like, how long have you had them? 6 years. Well, chances are it's not, always just out there. You know what I mean? Like, as you move, things bulge and change. And I remember when I was studying chronic pain, it was like 85% of people walking around out there with the spine have bulging discs and have degenerative disc diseases. and not all of them are in pain. So it's not really indicative of the level of pain that you're going to be in. So for me, going to the chiropractor, doing all these things, and I was a high level athlete, right? I was strong. I didn't need to, but I was strengthening so much this way that this was just like, it was screaming, it was on fire. And it wasn't until I really learned how to release my own trigger points, how to release the front of my neck. And then when I went back to the chiropractor, because he's like, I haven't seen you in a while, I was like, I feel great. So he's like, let's take a picture. Let's take a picture. So we took my picture, and he had never seen anything like it before. And that my reverse cervical curve had totally reversed from being reversed. And so whatever it is that I'm doing, to just keep doing it, And I was like, yeah. And so that really taught me a lot, because there's this really misunderstanding out there. And I talked to somebody about this in a group the other day. She was talking about her back pain. So, people get arthritis all over the place. And she was calling her back bad, my bad back, my bad back. And I was like, well, maybe your back isn't bad, but like, you just haven't learned the right ways to support it. Have you ever considered, because it's a lever. Most of us sit, so the front is tight and the back is stretched out and weak. We go to stand up and you're like, oh, you know what I mean? You sit for a long time. It's hard to get all the way back up. Well, those front muscles didn't just relax because after 8 hours you stood up. There's still that weird tension. And I was like, have you ever considered releasing, your muscles that have an impact on your bones? She's like, there's nothing wrong with my muscles. My back's bad. And I was like, right. Okay.
It's just your back.
Because your muscles have nothing to do with your bones. So they just tell you, in case you don't know out there in Facebook world, is that your bones do not just go moving around all willy-nilly by themselves, right? Like my cervical bone didn't just decide to be over here one day, right? My arm, my hand doesn't just go over here all on its own. It needed muscular force on it to do the job. So if this is always tight and this is always stretched out and weak because we're on our phones or whatever it is, or reading books, your cervical curve is going to reverse because of the action on the bones from the muscles. The muscles get tightened. They're just responding to the pressures that you are placing on them. That's how bodies work. Or else we would all just be like super buff. You don't build muscle unless you ask that muscle to work, right? And repetitively. Like I can't go to the gym once and be like, yeah. You know what I mean? I'm rocking these muscles. No, it doesn't work that way. Usually you do it like 3 times a week, every day. And slowly, that horrible slowly, and over time, you're like, oh, hey, I got a muscle developing, because you keep asking it to be stronger. You keep saying, I want you to be stronger. It's the same with flexibility. You can't stretch one time and be like, yep, that was good for me for life. Like your body responds to the muscle, your body responds to the pressures that you place on it. So the mischaracterization of muscles is that the muscle is not actually stretching. Like it's not like, woo, I'm getting longer. Your muscle is responding to the demand that it needs to be longer. So it actually, while you're sleeping and in reparation, makes more muscle fibers so that the muscle can be longer. It's not like, it's like, okay, now we're long. So you have to ask over and over and over again, like a lot of people with tight hamstrings. Like you didn't go to one yoga class and you're like, woohoo, I can do the splits. But over time, that repetitive asking that muscle to be longer, asking it to be longer, your body's like, she keeps asking me to be longer. I think we need to make more muscle here. Same with anything. Like that's why muscles atrophy when you stop. So everything that happens in your body is a response to what the demand that you're placing upon it. Did that make sense? Did I just go off on a total tangent?
No, I love that.
You're good. It actually reminded me, last week I had an introductory session with a friend of mine who's a personal trainer. And we're talking about how it all works together. Our body, our core, everything works together. He was working at a gym a couple of years ago. I think he said there was a guy there who every time he went to the gym, he did chest press. And he got really strong, but he never worked anything else out. he never worked his back out. He didn't work his shoulders out. So the dude ended up hunchback
Yeah, like this.
because he didn't do anything else other than the chest press. He had a big chest, but he was like this.
Yeah,
So it all
totally.
works together.
Yeah, because that's what you're telling your body you need.
Right.
I need my chest to be stronger. I need my chest to be strong. And a lot of people do chest press because that's what they can see. Right. So it's like the backside is, yeah, totally. And that leads to arthritis, right? How could you be like this
Right.
and not have inflammation and like joint pain and things like that? So yeah, I totally believe, and they say that it's not reversible, but I don't think that you have to live in chronic pain. And I don't believe it when people say, because I've seen the most miraculous things. I've experienced the most miraculous things. I've gone through periods of having extreme amounts of pain. So like today, at 44, so like in my 20s, I was an aerial acrobat, high level athlete. People look at me and be like, damn, you're in good shape. And I hurt more than I ever hurt in my entire life. I probably didn't have a great diet. I probably didn't have any great recovery. I was a single mom working and then doing, this thing that I really wanted to do like 4 nights a week, totally stressed out. And now I'm 44, going to be 44, and I have a kick-ass self-care game. You know what I mean? I do my exercise every morning. I roll and stretch every night. I feel amazing. And so why would I feel better in my 40s than I do in my 20s if that, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's because of the work that I'm putting in. And like, I know people in my age group who cannot physically do things that I can do. And it's just because of the demands placed on my body. Like even just like getting up and down from the floor without using anything to like push up on, like getting up and down from the floor is a super important thing. Oftentimes when I'm working with my clients, it's functional exercise, a lot of, like, I have arthritis, but I'm like, but can you get up and down from a chair? No, because I have arthritis. Well, that's not the reason.
Right.
Like, yeah. And then sitting, like we sit, gosh, do we sit? We are not designed for as much sitting as we do. Like our bodies are designed to be bipedal creatures, right? And that we're designed to be upright. So the amount that we sit is horrible for our digestion. Right? I always wonder, like I eat standing up at my counter. It's not because I don't want to relax, but it's like I feel like it's weird to eat and then compress all of the space that's like trying to like do this work.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one that does that. I thought I was weird. I thought it was all the years of like waiting tables and bartending and having to like stand up and eat your food really fast, but I still do that at home. Like I will stand and eat because I feel it's more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, like, well, we're all gonna have Thanksgiving tomorrow. How many times are you sitting eating? And they're like, and right, remember when your people had to like unbutton their pants? Yeah, I gotta create space, but like you're just compressing everything that's supposed to be doing its job, and like the motility of the large and small intestines and all that is just like in there. I don't think it's healthy. I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Usually after I eat, I go for a gentle walk.
Of course, absolutely. I got a question for you. Hopefully this will lead up into arthritis and so forth. So we can all go to the chiropractor, we can go to massage, we can go to physical therapy. But in between, isn't that what matters the most?
I think so.
Because we can go there, but if our self-care or our posture sucks, that crack is not going to do any good.
It's not going to help you. Yeah. And I say this all the time is like, it doesn't matter who else you're going to. Like you could go to the chiropractor all you want. You could go to physical therapy. Chances are you'll feel better. I mean, after working 11 years in physical therapy, I do believe that part of the premise is that if we just get people out of their house and moving, they're going to feel a little bit better. Even if the therapist isn't really like awesomely skilled, But the in-between care is what's important. And the thing is about life, and you can equate this to anything, right? You can equate this to your business, you can equate this to your diet, you can equate this to your physical body. Anything in life is that it is all about the little things that you do every single day. It is about the habits that you create every single day. Like I get up in the morning, I drink water first thing in the morning. I have like my morning time. I exercise every morning. You know what I mean? So that I get it done. You know what I mean? Because I know that there's certain things I want to be able to get up and down off the floor when I'm 90. You know, hopefully I won't be 90 one day, but but you know what I mean? I want to be able to do certain things, and it is all about what you're doing. And I say this to my clients. I'm like, and at the same time, it doesn't matter how much self-care in the world you're doing if the fuel that you put in is inefficient.
Of course.
If you're like finishing your workout and going and drinking beers with the guys instead of like having water and like whatever it is, or the girls or whatever, like, woohoo, we worked out, let's go have margaritas. You know, like, no.
I like just to say it's like eating, driving, but with your foot in the brake. You're not going anywhere, or you're adding fuel to the fire in a sense.
Yeah. Or as an example, like I'm going to go to the chiropractor, I'm going to go to physical therapy, and then am I really just going to like sit on my couch for 2 days until I go back?
Right.
You know, you like, you know, are you taking walks? And I remember like with my own clients, you know, it could get winded going to the mailbox and back. And so I'd be like, well, that's your homework. It's going to the mailbox and back like once a day until we can do it. And then maybe around the block. But like building it up slowly. But absolutely, it's, you know, some people talk about like gargantuan efforts, like mean nothing compared to the little daily things. And again, it's anything. You can apply this philosophy to absolutely anything in your life. You know what I mean? Like if your husband bought you flowers, but then didn't speak to you any other day, and then like suddenly bought you flowers again, you'd be like, what the F, right? So like, are you like just buying your body flowers every so often? You know what I mean? Like once a week and be like, oh, I'm going to go ride my bike. And then every other day be like, I don't know, you know, like that made, I don't know if that analogy made any sense, but totally.
Absolutely.
It's all about the things that we do every single day and that level of consistency. And consistency is the key ingredient for any single thing that you want to achieve in life, which is crazy that I've just learned this. You know, like I know it in terms of body. I know it in terms of like building muscle. I know it in terms of like so many things. And then I was like, and building a business and build and this and oh, and look at that, how it's just consistency is like, it's like the key ingredient of like everything. And it's what's coming up for me most every day in life right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely, you know, you've got to be consistent. You've got to take care of yourself. We all have a choice. You know, we can, it's not normal to have arthritis as you age, right? Like that's not a normal part of aging. Your brain decline, that's not a normal part of aging.
Not normal.
And we have a choice every day by the actions that we take, by the foods that we put in our bodies, by the thoughts that we have, you know, but by being consistent with these healthy habits, with these healthy actions to live a long and healthy life where we feel good as we age. And you can be, I met a woman the other day who was 99 years old, you know, and she was walking with her cane, but she was doing just fine. You know, we don't have to have this. So we have to be consistent and we have to make these choices every day and decide, do we want to be normal? I mean, look at everybody in the US and all of these, you know, industrialized, you know, Western world, everybody's unhealthy, everybody's sick. You know, everybody eats crappy food, everybody's inflamed and in pain. Like, I don't want to be normal. Like, I don't want to be that, you know, like, if that's what normal is, like, I want nothing to do with that. You know, we have a choice. We can live a long, happy and healthy life by doing these good things for our body, or we can age very poorly. We can have that hunchback, we can have inflammation, arthritis, all these.
And we can be mad. We can be mad that arthritis happened to us.
Yep.
But you know, the thing is, and you just kind of touched on this, is this is not actually a worldwide issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of, the United States has the most incidences of back pain than any other country in the world, and not because it has more people. You know what I mean? But if you took it like, what a ratio, you know what I mean? There is more people with back pain, and it's because we sit all day long, and it's because we have a sedentary lifestyle, and it's because we don't prioritize our health. I think. I think very few people prioritize themselves over the things that they feel like they have to do, and don't realize that they would be able to show up better for the things that they have to do if they prioritize themselves.
Right.
Like, I show up much better when I've prioritized my, having water, having breakfast, having exercise. Like, I show up better for you, for everybody else, you know what I mean? And I'm not like running in with stuff under my arms or whatever it is, like, woo, but yeah, we have to prioritize ourselves. And the thing of it is that eventually one day we have to.
Yep.
If you don't prioritize, I think Chris posted this, if you don't prioritize your wellness, then you're going to have to prioritize your illness.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, how many people do I meet that have had TMJ for 25 years? And the only thing anybody's told them to do is get a bite guard, which doesn't fix the problem, right? All it doesn't even really fix the symptom. It just makes sure that you don't grind the enamel off of your teeth, and then it's like, that's the fix.
Minor Band-Aid in a sense.
And then you have something in your mouth that you are then encouraged to bite down on, and it just makes the actual problem worse.
Yeah.
And then, where does it go from there? Like, I looked up today treatments for arthritis, and it was anti-inflammatory painkillers, steroids, DMARDs. I don't even know what that is. You know what I mean? I was like, pill.
Right.
7th on the list was physical therapy. And I was just
And
like,
diet probably wasn't even on there.
Wasn't even on it. But then you look up the exercises to do, and it says, that being in the water is the best thing. Well, why is being in the water the best thing? A, it relieves the pressure on the joints, but B, it works as a compression. So it pushes all of the inflammation out.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, water works as compression. So I used to work as a lymphedema therapist, and so long as people don't have, but like, you have to compress, like, to push the swelling back into the bloodstream so that it can be excreted out. So one of the things about being in water is it's a natural compression force on your body, which is why you typically have to pee a lot more when you're in the water. It's not because of it's because it's pushing the water molecules back into your venous return, and then getting dumped into your subclavian to go get excreted out. Anyway, I know way too much stuff about this. That might have been
No, it's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. But arthritis, back to arthritis, is you don't have to live with it. There are things that you absolutely can do to feel better. You are not imprisoned to a life of chronic pain because you have this quote unquote diagnosis, which is really a symptom. And I don't know how it is that we can give symptoms as diagnoses, but they're all symptoms. It's just a symptom. Arthritis is a symptom.
Yep. Same thing I say about IBS. People are like,
Right.
oh, I have IBS. I'm like, so IBS is a set of symptoms. So that means your doctor has no idea what's wrong with you, but why are you experiencing the irritable bowel? Like, let's get to the root of that. Do you have a parasite? Do you have dysbiosis? Do you have, we have to figure out in order to get rid of it, right? Like, what's the root cause? And that's, kind of like the theme here, figuring out what is causing this. Is your arthritis caused because you're sitting, 8, 10, 12 hours a day? Is it because you're on your phone like this? Is it because you're sitting there crossing your legs? Like, why are you experiencing these things? And when you get to that root cause, then you can correct it.
Yeah.
You can't throw a pill at it.
And some people think that they're doing the right thing for themselves. A perfect example is Chris's friend who like does his, chest workout, but
Yeah.
you need to, but it's just not a balanced workout. So he might
Right.
think in his mind that he's doing something great for himself, like, yeah, I made it to the gym, but then it's also not balanced. It's just like, I can't just eat steak. I have to have vegetables and like all the other things. You can't just work that one thing,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think people have to live this way at
Yeah.
all. And there's so many things that you can do. So many things that you can do that is not. And a lot of people are like, I'm in pain. I'm not going to get up. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to do anything. Worst thing that you can possibly do when you're in any kind of pain is
Makes it
be
worse.
sedentary.
Yeah.
Because if nobody takes anything else away from this conversation today, movement is improvement and motion is lotion. And what happens in your joints when you move is that it releases synovial fluid into that capsule to create that fluid movement. That's why sometimes, like when you're warming up, you do things circularly and many times, like small to big. You don't go for like your gusto straight off the bat, but because you're getting that movement, you're getting the synovial fluid moving through the joints, because movement is improvement.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
lotion for your joints, and then moving also helps your body to take any of the toxic ick out of your muscles. You know what I mean? Like if I just worked out and then like went and laid in a lazy boy rocker and drank a beer, how puff-tastic would I be the next day? You know what I mean? Because there's all this cellular debris. I'm throwing in alcohol, you know what I mean? Which is dehydrating. So now I don't even have like the viscosity in my blood to like take this ick out. And then I'm sitting. Worst thing that you can do, you know what I mean? Yeah, we all know that after a workout you want to drink water and cool down, right? A nice cool down, like that there's recovery time. And for me, like after a workout, I roll and stretch, because that's like encouraging all that ick to just go on out in the cellular debris. And then it brings in fresh nutrients. I want all of that good nutrition. And it's really funny to think, when your mom told you you are what you eat, you actually are what you eat. Like it becomes you. And so what do you want to be? If you could dream it, you can be it, I think.
Absolutely.
I have very much enjoyed this conversation. Before we let you go, Samantha, can you give us, so if somebody's struggling with arthritis, like right now, what are some things that they can do just on a daily basis to help improve their symptoms?
Yeah, I would say gentle movement breaks, moving through. So like one of the things, because a lot of people have neck pain and back pain. So I'll bring this back a little bit so you can see me. But if I was in a chair all day, I might take some breaks. And like we do this in yoga class, it's kind of a cat cow, but you can do it sitting in your chair. So as you exhale, bringing everything down. And then as you inhale, lifting up and looking up and opening that chest and just getting, gentle movement. And I would do like 10 of these, like even if I couldn't get up. If I wanted to get up, I might, do some, because we got our hips and back, I might do some little side lunges. You know what I mean? It's not that I have to do a huge workout, but I want to get movement and motion in those hips, in the back, and in my neck. Those would be the things that I would do. If you're a desk sitter, if you are like in a wheelchair, if you are, feeling achy in front of your TV, even just getting that little bit of motion and movement through your neck and spine. And if you are like really hurting and you're like, I need relief from, go get into a water aerobics program, go to your local pool, meet some other people. There's going to be people in there with the same problems that you have. But water, I mean, I really believe, I used to do aquatic therapy. So water aerobics, something like that, something where you can like take the pressure off and just get moving, even if it's a little bit, because you got to move it or you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
Good question.
Absolutely.
Would you recommend for like 3 to 5 minutes, which is a good duration to do those movements? And
I would do like 10.
okay, cool. Just very
Just
not
take
much.
some breaks throughout the
Okay,
day,
cool, awesome.
say like a minute. Oftentimes when I exercise, I'll put a timer on for like 2 minutes. I figure if I could do anything for 2 minutes, you know what I mean? Like, I might take a 2-minute break. You know what I mean? Move my chest, move my legs, and then go back to work.
That's
But
not much
like,
at all. That's not a long time.
not a very long time, and it'll make a
No.
huge difference.
Yeah.
That's
One of
good
the
to
things
know.
that
It's
I
actually
do.
amazing how long 2 minutes is suddenly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you're holding a plank,
Right.
it's like time and space just goes like this.
A plank minute is way different than a normal minute.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Way different. But one of the things that I like to do is I get up and I'll just do some hip circles.
Yeah.
Just kind of getting weird and moving my body around and just like,
Just move
because
it.
there's some days where I'm literally stuck at the computer all
Mhm.
day, and I know how bad that is, and I get my steps in, and I still walk my dogs, but just remembering to get up throughout the day and like move your body, and I notice like that release of tension, and it just feels so much better.
And I will also say this is that 1 minute of movement is going to behoove your body way more than 15 or 20 minutes on a heating pad. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people go straight to that heat, like, oh, I need a heating pad because it feels so good. We all know that it feels so good, right? And then when you get off of the heating pad for 20 minutes, like within an hour, it's all like worse than it was before, because that heat causes inflammation, and then you're just laying there not moving, and the inflammation doesn't go anywhere because you're not moving, right? And then it's like more inflammation, it just sits there. So oftentimes, especially with arthritises, heat will make it worse.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah, so people will get this like weird addiction to the heating pad. I've been there. I've had the addiction to the heating pad, and then I'd get up and be like, why do I hurt worse now? Like after a little while, everything would just tighten back up, but it is because of the inflammatory process, and it just brings more blood flow, more fluid comes, and then you're like, but I can't get up and do anything because it got a hitch and we get along. And it's just, yeah, you just start chasing your tail of like, well, now I just need to get back on the heating pad again. And I think that a lot of people can know somebody who lives on a heating pad.
Yep, for sure. Definitely.
And they always put the heating pad where it hurts, which is what we've already discovered is not the problem.
Right. I know that my dad, I know we've talked about my dad, and he's no longer here, and I wish I would have known you years ago, because he's struggled with chronic pain forever, but that was his thing. He laid on the couch all day with his heating pad. He would go through those heating pads every couple months because they would stop working because he used them so much.
Yeah. And that doesn't help.
Yeah. And he wouldn't move. He wouldn't move his body because he was like, it hurts too much. It hurts too much to move. But had he moved more, he would have felt better,
Yeah. So, and most people, when they get out and do something, they'll say, oh, I feel so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day they seemingly forget. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean, or whatever. It's just making those healthy habits, making a habit. It's making a habit. It's just like watching TV is a habit, drinking coffee is a habit, drinking everything is a habit. And you can create, you know what I mean? You're not, I don't watch TV at all. So like I have no idea what's going on in the world, which is
it's a good thing.
Good thing.
It's
It's
great.
a very good thing.
But it's just not a habit of mine. Like I do so many other things. So you can create whatever habits you want. You get to be whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
And I don't
That's
feel
awesome.
like I'm stunted emotionally for not knowing what's going on in the world or anything like that.
You're better off.
Yeah, definitely.
It's awesome.
This was awesome.
This was great. I always love having you on. You are just such a wealth of knowledge, Samantha. Thank you so much for coming and just always providing so much value in the group. Tell everybody. So for one, if they are struggling with arthritis or know somebody with arthritis, how can they contact you? How can they work with you?
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I work with people a few different ways. two different ways really. So I work with clients one-on-one, and I do a 12-week program with them where it's them and me, and we check in every single week, and I hold them accountable, and we get those goals met, whatever those goals are. They're not my goals, they're their goals, and we work on that. And then for people who are just like, oh, I would really just love to have like a weekly class that I could take, I have the Not Now membership. So this is really exciting because I'm redoing it right now, but I have been
Cool.
teaching a weekly class, and this is like an evolution. But I teach a weekly class online. It's a therapeutic foam rolling class. So you learn about these muscles, you learn about what these trigger points are, you learn how to effectively release them in this class. Every week we do a different subject. So like last week we did the knee, this week we're on a break because tomorrow's Thanksgiving in the States. Like next week we're doing plantar fasciitis, and then we start over with headaches, TMJ. So there are these classes that happen every week, but with your membership, you get access to all of the videos. So if you
Cool.
woke up tomorrow like, well, I know we did plantar fasciitis, but my TMJ is out of control, you can go watch the video for that and like
It's awesome.
have that access to all of these classes at your fingertips 24 hours a day. So that, I was funny. I had somebody the other day who was like, I just did my rolling with Samantha. And I was like, you did? But she's
That's
done the
awesome.
video online. So it's a really incredible resource. So those are the ways that I do that. My website is Not Now Therapeutics. It's not with a K. So Not Now Therapeutics. You can reach me there. You can direct message me on Facebook. And then I have my own little Facebook group over in my own little land. That's the Not Now Therapeutics community, where I offer a lot of valuable information, a lot of tips and tricks, and just a lot of things about self-care stuff, so that
Cool.
people don't have to live in chronic pain, because like you don't have to.
Yeah, you definitely don't. We'll put the link for her Facebook group in here. I know that Joanna had asked earlier about where can she get more info from you, and I
Yeah.
mentioned that. So Joanna
Awesome.
will definitely drop the link for her Facebook group in the chat. Thanks again so much, Samantha. You are amazing. I love your energy. I love your analogies too. Like you explain things is just so great, and you keep it fun, and you are just a blessing to so many people who are struggling with chronic pain. And just know, you guys, that there is relief. If you are struggling with this or know someone who's struggling with this, reach out to Samantha. She's got those options available to work with her. Join that membership. Don't live your life in pain. You don't have
to.
Absolutely not.
Thanks y'all again for having me. It's always a pleasure. It's so nice to be around like-minded people, even though we're not, in the same spot. But it's nice to
It's been a great help resource to us.
All over the country and all over the world,
all over the world.
Yep.
So
Definitely.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys so much. Hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Happy Thanksgiving to those of us in the US. Hope you all have a safe and healthy holiday tomorrow, and we will see you all next week.
Sounds good. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.